Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so instead of,
Take whatever you need. All right, Kim.
Okay, everyone, we're ready to start the meeting.
All right. All right, everybody, welcome to our regular public council meeting for Monday, April 28, 2025, here in the town of Torrey Bay. First off, new business. Councilor Tepper.
Pass.
Councilor Manning.
I'll pass.
Councilor Pollard.
Pass.
Councilor Appleby.
thank you and congratulations.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, and I got it, thanks. Okay, is there anybody here that would like to take part in our first Q&A? Now, before we go, I do have a person that's already registered, so this time frame is only allocated for 15 minutes, and it's 5 minutes per person, so only got space for 2 more. So, does anybody want to talk in the first Q&A session? Robbie? Robbie? Anyone else?
For commentary or just?
Yeah, to get up and ask the question.
Questions or just?
Questions or
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
Comment,
Yes.
make a point,
To get,
Mayor, that the question and answer should be according to our rules of procedure, an item that's in the agenda package.
the first one is anything. The second one is something that was talked about after, during the meeting. So, yeah, so, could I get your name?
Wayne Lowe, I just commented, so.
Okay, all right.
What was the name?
Wayne?
Wayne Malloy.
Wayne Malloy.
I don't think I'm in the actual agenda, so,
No, doesn't matter. The first Q&A is for anything.
okay. Or if more people want to talk, I can do the second one.
Yeah, fair enough.
Whether you-
Or, yeah, okay. Did anybody else, anybody want to take Robbie's spot? Colleen? Colleen Tapper.
No relation.
All right. So we leave it at that for now. All right. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you. Where am I? All right. So, first off, we have a regular public council minutes for April 14, 2025. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, any errors or omissions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried, thank you. Conflict of interest, there is a,
Just one to share. When we had our committee meeting for Recreation and Community Services, there was a correspondence from Torrey Minor Softball, and I declared a conflict during the meeting. And also, just to note it now, Mayor, my children participate in that program, so I don't feel it's appropriate for me to participate in any of the communication about the organization.
fair enough.
So just declaring that conflict.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, proclamations. The first one is National Volunteer Week, mayoral proclamation. Deputy Mayor.
Community Sector Council Newfoundland and Labrador, along with local and national partners, are navigating the complexities of modern volunteerism. We are working together to build volunteer action strategies for our province and the country to remove barriers to participation so that every individual feels empowered to contribute to building more connected communities. Now it is more important than ever to acknowledge the contributions of those participating in our towns and cities to show our appreciation for their efforts. Whereas 24 million Canadians give their time through formal or informal types of volunteering, contributing close to 5 billion volunteer hours per year, and whereas over 210,000 individuals in Newfoundland and Labrador volunteer an average of 161 hours per year, with 3,400 incorporated nonprofits and 3,000 plus informal community groups. And whereas volunteers in the town of Torbay give their time and talents to support families, friends, neighbors, and strangers. And whereas volunteers in the town of Torbay are individuals, families, workers, retirees, community members of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas the town council of the town of Torbay recognizes the enormous contribution that volunteers and community organizations make to the social, cultural, and economic development of our province. And whereas the town of Torbay is more desirable place to live because of the collective results of the work done by our volunteers.
Now therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim April 27th to May 3rd, 2025 as National Volunteer Week, recognizing the 2025 theme, Volunteers Make Waves, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize the crucial role played by volunteers in our community. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Before we do, I'm going to give the opportunity to Mr. Colin Cochran. He's the CEO of, I had it wrote down, Community Sector Council, Newfoundland Labrador. You can come out up to the mic, please.
Fantastic, thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and Councillors. Good evening. My name is Colin. I'm proud to be the CEO of your Community Sector Council in Newfoundland Labrador. And tonight I'm delighted to bring greetings during National Volunteer Week, happening April 27th to May the 3rd. So you heard this year's theme. This one's particularly personal for our dear province. Volunteers make waves. It recognizes the ripple effect, particularly on water. When one small act of kindness, 1 hour given, one smile, one contribution contributes to a whole wave of impact. And that impact itself is staggering. You know, Newfoundland Labrador, we heard some of the statistics. We have over 210,000 people in this province who actively volunteer, 46% of our population. On average, they provide 161 hours of volunteerism each and every single year, which is the highest in the country. If you were to stack that all together, that translates to 33.8 million hours of volunteerism in this province alone. Somebody once asked me, actually a couple of weeks ago, what would happen if all the volunteers disappeared? Well, for starters, you would actually have to hire 16,500 people full-time just to cover off the hours that volunteers freely give here in this province. Not only that, food bank shelves would go bare. Search and rescue calls may go unanswered. Charity boards would remain quiet. So for the coaches with the Northeast United Soccer Club, to the caretakers of the regional trails, planning a time in Torbay, to building the next generation of community leaders through guides and scouts, volunteers are truly the backbone in our communities. Without them, the everyday kindness we count on would ripple away, and we'd all feel that impact. But thankfully, that's not our reality today. Today, we boast the most giving populations in the entire country, and we have much cause to celebrate. So this year, on Volunteer Week, thank a volunteer, and then thank another. Because if we can keep the momentum going, we can create our own wave, one of gratitude, positivity, and kindness to our communities. I want to thank the council and thank the mayor for your remarks today, and encourage everybody in attendance to take one moment this week and thank a volunteer. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Comments?
Thanks, Mayor. I was chatting with Colin when we were first coming in, and I did 2 work terms with the Community Sector Council. One when I was going through school, and another one when Penny called me and she was doing the Bureau and Clusters project and asked me if I would do that for her when I was pregnant with Jake. That's 14 years ago. I had the great opportunity to work with Penny Rowe on many occasions, and I have great respect for her. And I have great respect for your organization and the work that the team does at the Community Sector Council. There's a lot of work there about teaching volunteers about how to volunteer safely, how to make sure that you have the right insurance, how to make sure that you've got your financial books done right. A lot of people with good intentions show up and volunteer, but they don't always have the protections they need. So the work that you do, thank you. It's critical and important and very much appreciated. Thanking a volunteer is something I'm going to take the opportunity to do right now. I see Mr. Kevin Sharp in the back with his wife Terry. Kevin is a tireless volunteer. He coaches every basketball, soccer, every team you can get. He's the guy. When I see a kid, and I was on the soccer pitch for tryouts this week, and I saw a kid hanging off a soccer net, and I'm thinking of you going, nope, don't do it, because there's danger associated, and Kevin's the person I always think about with that. Colleen Tapper here. Colleen, when I was involved with the Soccer Association, the Northeast Monarch Association, Colleen came on and worked with us and volunteered her time to make sure that we were able to do that stuff. And Robbie, if I had a minute for every time that you volunteered your time to help me with understanding environmental issues, taking us for walks around, learning the different plants and what the wetlands do and all the different things, it's amazing. And then I'm looking at Jimmy back here as one of our fire department members who's always volunteering and making sure that he's given of his time selflessly. I hear that even when you guys had your fireman's call the other night, there was a call that came in while you were getting ready for it. So I know that everyone here does. I see you two, Annette, and I know all the work that you do. I just want to say thank you to everybody in the room for the work that the time that you give and the work you bring forward, and Sandra for your contributions here to help educate us about supports that are needed for growth that we're looking to do in the community. Very important. So my collective thank you to all of you, and I'll turn the floor back to the mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comment? Councillor Pollard?
Thanks, Your Worship. I guess every year I make sure that I stand up and thank all the volunteers, and not by anyone in particular, but just all the volunteers themselves, and realize the importance of contribution to what we do here on a regular basis, and how to, as what Colin said, we wouldn't be able to operate on a regular basis or have half the things that we do have without volunteers. So heartfelt thanks to all those who do step up and volunteer.
Thank you. Any other comment?
No.
Mary?
I'm glad that I had the opportunity to do this proclamation because, as most people that know me know, this is something near and dear to my heart. Big thank you to all of our volunteers. We had a reception last night representing the Best of Torbay Awards ceremony, and as well for our volunteers. But there were various volunteer groups that could not make it there for whatever reason. And there was a number of volunteers too that they didn't get an invite because of their involvement as volunteers with regards as coaches and various church groups, the schools. Like, there's so many different volunteers that are the backbone. Like Colin, I really liked your few words that you had to say because it summed up everything that I would like to have the opportunity to say. So thank you. And again, thank you to all of our volunteers. To me, they go unnoticed and unthanked a lot because most of them do a lot behind the scenes and they don't want any recognition known for it. So thank you again to everybody that volunteers.
Any other comment? Councillor Tapper?
Yeah, I also want to say that it was great to see everybody out last night at the Common. We had pretty well a full house. I think all of council was there, which was great. But just to reflect back from our perspective, you know, we did run for council, I did years ago, and a lot of experience around the table here. But I'm sure when you ran for your first time, you put on your resume all the volunteer work that you did. And that goes a long ways with the voters, right? So, but it's great to see, you know, again, I've been involved with a lot, and I know that everybody around the table, and there's people here I know as well that have volunteered pretty well all their life. So, but it was a great night, great presentation, and you did a great job, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, everything everyone said is absolutely true. Volunteers are the backbone of any organization, backbone of anything at all. My enjoyment comes totally with what I've been at the last 2 weeks, is up at the History House, walking across the street and bringing over the elementary kids to do the May Bush. I'm stood up in the corner, but as we're crossing the street and stuff like that, it's just, I get pure enjoyment out of it. which is what anyone who volunteers, that's the same feeling everyone has. So to everyone out there that's able to give the time, and it doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes, 10 hours, it is all appreciated, and appreciated for what you do, but for yourself, I'm sure you enjoy doing it. So thank you to everyone out there that does it.
Thank you. And I guess I'll have the last word on it. And I think, Colin, to your point, so many organizations across the province, including councils and council tables like this one that we're sitting at, is largely volunteer. And it's unfortunate that a lot of times the volunteers who sit, particularly the ones that sit around council tables like ours and across the province, they don't get the respect or the recognition that they deserve. It's going to be an epidemic this next upcoming election in October for many municipalities across the province, where councillors do not want to run anymore. It's something that I'm working hard on with municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, and it's something that we hear about a lot. And it's really troubling when you hear the stories that people are talking about. And it was great for us last night, and we, as the town of Torbay, we take it seriously. Our volunteers, our volunteer fire department is a jewel within our community. And, you know, every volunteer group that we recognized last night, and, you know, there's a lot of events and a lot of things that couldn't happen without the impact and the contribution of our volunteers. And I think it's so important that we recognize them, and I thank you for coming. With that said, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. And I'm just going to jump up and we'll get a quick picture. Do all the council want to get on
Yes.
this?
And everybody? Thank you very much. I'll give one of the mayor and the proclamations. Thank you, Colin. Okay.
See you, Colin. Take care.
All right, so we have another proclamation for Municipal Awareness Week. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mayor. Municipal Awareness Week, May the 4th to the 10th, 2025. Whereas municipal government is responsible for the provision of services that enhance the quality of life of its citizens, and whereas dedicated mayors, councillors, and staff are essential for the effective governance of their municipalities. And whereas collaboration, partnerships, and citizen involvement are essential for active, sustainable, and vibrant communities. And whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize and encourage the contribution of all who work diligently for the improvement of our municipalities.
Therefore, be it proclaimed that May 4th to the 10th, 2025 be known as Municipal Awareness Week in municipalities of Newfoundland and Labrador, in recognition of the vital role of municipal government and in recognition of all those efforts that support it. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I was going to pass on this actually, but I won't. It's good timing, actually, Municipal Awareness Week, and I want to say thanks to all the staff and council for all the work that they do put in here. I think the onus is on us to ensure that we get information out to our residents so that they understand actually what council does. And I think it's all emblazoned, I guess, in the first line there where it says, responsible for the provision of services that enhance the quality of life of the citizens. And I think that's where we all went out and got voted in on or elected on, was to actually help the citizens. It's unfortunate that certain times you see on Facebook or in emails that there's misinformation spread and that there's some things that you know, are less than savory, I guess, to councillors and the staff, as if we're out to do some damage or something along those lines. Such is not the case. We try to take as much information as we can, balance it, and put out a decision that's based on sound sound findings, and that's, I think, important for everybody to realize. And maybe we should do a better job of that internally to get that out to residents, so everyone truly understands how a municipality works and what it takes behind the scenes.
Thank you. Any other comment? Councillor Appleby?
Thanks, Mayor. You know, with the election coming up in October, I'm sure that people are thinking about, should I run for council? What's it gonna look like? You know, do I wanna run again, or do I wanna run for the first time? And I think it's important to share, you touched on it when you spoke just a minute ago, about the concern when people put their name forward, what they may face and what they may have to deal with. Councillor Pollard just shared that again. I wanted to share and put it on the record, in the 8 years that I've been here, it's been one of the best things I've ever done. I've had the opportunity to sit at the M&L table for 5 years. I've sat at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities table for 5 years. I'm the only member of Torbay Town Council, to my knowledge, that's ever been invited to meet with the Prime Minister of Canada and talk about issues that impact the country as a whole. The opportunity is fabulous. The ability to meet people, talk to people, listen to people, learn exactly what Councillor Pollard was talking about, dig into the issues, make sure we understand things, and build our community together. It's a really great opportunity and responsibility. And, you know, I hear stories in the community as well, you know, about things that I have said or done or whatever else that are not true. And people unfortunately share misinformation. We just saw a lot of conversation around that with the federal election that's happening today. But I think it's really important that we make sure that we let people know it's a privilege to sit at this table. There's a lot of good that can come from this. And opportunities that I never thought would ever come forward have come. I've had the ability to meet people in this community, serve them, listen, and grow our community in a responsible, sustainable way, working with people to find those solutions. And I think that's where the opportunities are. So I'd like to thank everybody who's in the gallery tonight who came to join us in this meeting. The more the better every night. Please come on, love to see you here. And I think it's important that we engage and work with people to make sure that all people can see that there are great opportunities serving your community in this way. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comment? I'll just close it off by saying Colin, while he was here, he mentioned to me that he's going to be helping work out with the Make Your Mark campaign. And that's something that I'm also going to be working on with municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, with the board. And also, I'm chair of the youth committee. And I am actually one of the youngest people that's on the M&L board at my age, and I'm on the youth committee, and that just goes to show that across the province, our councils are getting older and older, and a lot of young people are not getting involved. So a lot of our focus this year is going to be on trying to encourage young people to come forward and serve in their communities, and you know, they're going to come forward hopefully, and they're going to have good ideas, and you know, I'm really looking forward to it. But with that said, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carry. Thank you. Another one. Safety and Health Week. Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Proclamations for Safety and Health Week, May 5th to the 10th, 2025. Together we can create safe workplaces and communities. Whereas the goal of Safety and Health Week is to focus employers, employees, partners, and the public on awareness, understanding, and the importance of preventing injury and illness in the workplace, at home, and in our communities. Whereas the majority of workplace injuries, illnesses, and fatalities are preventable. And whereas safer organizations enjoy increased productivity, higher employee satisfaction, and a better reputation, while recording less lost time and lower workers' compensation and health care costs. And whereas the town of Torbay fosters safety-minded work culture by striving to improve attitudes towards safety, raise awareness of the role and contribution of safety and health professionals, reduce workplace injuries and illnesses by encouraging safe and health education and activities. Whereas the town of Torbay recognizes the importance of safety and health and are committed to providing a safe and healthy workplace by eliminating workplace hazards causing injury, illness, harassment, and violence across the organization. Whereas during the week of May 5th to the 10th, 2025, the town of Torbay's occupational health and safety committees will increase employer, employee, and public awareness of being safe at work to encourage safe practices and enhance workplace safety efforts. And
Now therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, do hereby proclaim May 5th to 10th, 2025 to be Safety and Health Week in the town of Torbay, and encourage all industries, organizations, community leaders, employers, and employees to support activities designed to increase awareness of the importance of safe workplaces. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Thanks, Mayor. I'm a strong advocate and have been for safe workplaces. And actually, one of the first things I did this morning, other than remind my friends on Facebook to vote, was to put up a note about today being the National Day of Mourning. And one of my mom's best friends, about 30 years ago, lost her son to a workplace accident. And every single day this year takes me back to that day where we were, what was happening. The safety that's required in workplaces can't be, there's nothing there's no person who deserves to go into a workplace that's not safe. And we just talked about volunteerism, just as important in that sector as well. So I think the other thing I also want to touch on is, of course, the mental health component. And, it's not just, hey, you walk in, did you trip over that wire? But also, do you have a safe, welcoming place to come into? Can you speak freely? Can you show up, do the thing that you do, and be respected by your peers? Can you have a different opinion and still walk away friends? Those are things that are important, and they need to be worked through and make sure that everybody understands there's space for everybody. We talk about inclusion, we talk about equality, we talk about bringing new people into a space. It's important to make sure that, organizations are set up in a way that they are inclusive, they are welcoming, and they are safe. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Great, thank you. Any other comment? Go ahead, Councillor
Yeah,
Cap.
just briefly, I had the opportunity today to represent the town at the National Day of Mourning at the Confederation Building.
Thank you for that, by the way.
No problem. It again was a sad occasion. They normally have a speaker. This year they had a lady who lost her 24-year-old son in an accident, on the job accident. And she still isn't over it. It happened 6 or 7 years ago. But obviously it's going to take a long while to get over it. But, the sad part about it, when they reported on the numbers of accidents, in Newfoundland over the last year, they've actually increased instead of decreased. So, the awareness is still not there, as to the safety factor when it comes to on-the-job, workers. So again, it's something that should be, like the stats should be going down instead of up. This is really tragic that way. And again, she was in tears from the time she went to the mic until she left the hall. And it's understandable, but put yourself in the same position.
Agreed. Okay, and to, any other comment? I think as a combination of both your comments, the mental health aspect now of the workplace, people are not concentrating on what they're doing, and it's probably causing more incidents and accidents, so it's important to always keep that in mind too. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Oh boy, we got one left. Where are we to? And here we go, Mental Health Week. Councillor Tapper.
Thank you. Proclamation Mental Health Week 2025. Whereas CMHA Mental Health Week promotes mental health awareness through education, campaigns, activities, and events held across Newfoundland and Labrador, and offers practical ways to maintain and improve mental health and support recovery from mental health problems and illnesses. Whereas the Canadian Mental Health Association encourages everyone to learn about the healing power of compassion during this year's Mental Health Week on Unmasking Mental Health. Download the toolkit on www.mentalhealthweek.ca and find out how compassion connects us all. Whereas increased awareness and understanding of mental health will promote the use of mental health services and supports and ensure Canadians with mental health-related illnesses are afforded the opportunity to recover. Whereas the Canadian Mental Health Association actively supports and encourages good mental health in all aspects of our lives during CMHA Mental Health Week and throughout the year.
Now therefore be it resolved that I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the Town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th to 11th, 2025 as CMHA Mental Health Week. I encourage all residents to join me in unmasking mental health and visit www.mentalhealthweek.ca to download the toolkit and learn about this year's theme, Unmasking Mental Health, that calls on us to show kindness towards ourselves and others. Use the hashtags Compassion Connects and Mental Health Week to shine a light on your personal journey with compassion towards yourself and others, the program you offer, and how your community supports the mental health of others. So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Comments?
I'm gonna have one on every one of these tonight, sorry. But it's important, you know, mental health definitely impacts our daily lives. And it's not just mental health as in having a diagnosis, it's mental health in the stress that you're feeling. Community development, we've got people here tonight that are concerned about development conversations that we're having. There's the whole conversation around mental health and serving in this way in the community. I mean, I have residents contact, or so I have, counselors that contact me all the time going, I'm in a situation, someone's filed a code of conduct against me, someone's filed this, someone's filed that, I don't know what to do. But with the years of service that I have and the years of experience, I can say, listen, hold on, breathe, there's processes, go back and read it and sort it out. But it's that support and connection when you're going through a really hard time to make sure that, you can understand what's going on and figure out, this is not me, I'm not isolated, there are supports. We're gonna have this conversation, I fully expect, when we get to the MNL conference this week. I think mental health is something that, to Councillor Tapper's point about these incidents of, accidents happening, increasing, can come back to people being preoccupied with being worried about things. Right now we live in a society where costs are increasing, changes are happening, things are beyond our control. The whole world seems to be upside down, and lots of people are preoccupied with it. So I think back to the point of what's in the proclamation about compassion, understanding, kindness, working together and holding space for people, that's something that we can do to actually take action against this sort of thing. So very happy to see the town endorsing these proclamations tonight, very much hoping that this becomes something that, we walk the talk and make sure that we're taking care in these spaces to protect all members of council, all members of the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment?
Just briefly, I'm sure everybody heard what happened in Vancouver yesterday. That can happen in Torbay or St. John's or anywhere. And apparently there was a mental health issue with the driver of that vehicle. So I guess the reports will come out and whether that's confirmed or not. But like I say, it's again, it's increasing, the incidents around the globe, really down in the States. There's numerous examples. But I guess again, as a matter of awareness, if somebody, a relative or friend or whatever, is having trouble, all we can do is help them.
Yep. Well said. Any other comment?
I just want to add and touch on what Councillor Tapper just said. And that, I guess it's become known, the different members of the public. I know in my own family recently with a situation, and it's really bothered me since I heard the other day. And we probably all know of people that are in the community that can relate to having incidents with the RNC, incidents with hospital. And unfortunately, when we checked into this, unless something actually happens physically, nobody is in a position where they can insist on mental help for any individuals. And we basically all know here that it's ongoing on a daily basis. There was another incident this past weekend, and nothing can be done about that. So that's really unfortunate, and I think that while we're talking about mental health and what we're doing, I think that the bigger issue now is knowing that the people who genuinely need some assistance and help, they are people that cannot be reached unless they want to actually do something themselves. And most of these people don't have the mental capacity to ask for help or let anybody help them. And as residents of Torbay, we need to be careful that we don't know who we're interacting with, and we think we know somebody when in actual fact we don't. So that's the more of a concern, and I think that's where government as a whole has to put more emphasis, because there's all kinds of emphasis put on what we're talking about here now within the workplace, but outside of that, it's lacking very much so.
Thank you. Well said. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. All of those proclamations, all four of them, actually, they kind of all intertwine. And very timely. All right. Terry Sharp, are you here?
I'm here.
Great. And Ms. Sharp, you got 5 minutes?
Before I start, can I say just thank you for letting me speak?
Sure.
And I've been up all night at the hospital with my sister. I've had a 1 hour sleep, so if I go walk out, well, that's it. Mental health, stress. Anyway, thank you to everybody on the council. Mr. Pollard, I hope that comment about misinformation is not directed just at residents, because it's a two-way street, as we all find out when we ask questions. Sometimes we don't get all the right information, or it's not communicated properly. And I think your comment that we have to be very careful how we communicate it is dead on. Anyway, rather than reiterate the objections that I wrote in my letter, which I already submitted to council, I think a simple look at some of the points that the changes to the discretionary clause would, and how it would make changes for the residents and the impact it would have on the change in the characteristic of the subdivision that's over in Forest Landing. Now, to say everything, I'm all for Northbrook. I'm not against that as proposed. So everything else I say is with possible changes, okay? The proposed changes to the amendment would allow for changes, let me know when 5 is up, for all categories that would allow for mixed housing in some and all residential areas. But that takes away, if it's at the discretion, it takes away the resident's voice. The council's premise that such a change would allow for more development for seniors and people with lower incomes and smaller families in nice areas. Residents building on RLLs are not building smaller, cheaper homes. The current prices for the new Victorian home designs will jump by $30,000 to $50,000 over what's on their site right now. And if you want to add the apartments, that's at least another $50,000. That's not what I think is considered to be a definition of affordable housing. I know council uses the smart growth plan to guide a lot of its decisions, so I went back and I looked at some of that. Smart growth housing development plans seek to reduce the use of cars. This development plan not only increases cars, because there's nowhere, like over in Forest Landing, you're not near anything. You can't walk anywhere. So it creates more safety issues. There's 36 houses slated for Northbrook, but if the amendment gets accepted, without residents having a voice, this potentially means that there could be, if you doubled every house, it could be 72 families. It also means that the plan now presented could be allowed to change to accommodate whatever type of housing you want to put there. Just like the quadruplexes the council was going to put over or allow on Woodbridge. And that didn't go well with the residents over there either. Council also has a mandate that to be able to limit the excess concentration of double-family dwellings in keeping with the character of the community of single-dwelling homes. Has council considered the impact on traffic, air pollution, garbage collection, snow clearing, and fire services in that area? Because I'll get to another part that ties into that. Smart growth development suggests planning communities that revert back to like the old traditional style while maintaining existing development and in their original intended condition. So why is council altering that? And if you can probably explain it better, in Forest Landing, like it was developed for RLLs, single dwelling, and if the changes allow apartments to be put in, that will change the whole character of that. Changing definitions of in-law suites, apartments, subsidiary apartments does nothing to change the increase in population. But so I want to know why council feels they need to have a sweeping change when right now, like I actually gave the okay for the apartment across the street. I don't have an issue with that if it's an in-law piece. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be a bitch here, okay? Good municipal planning should be compatible to community values. It should consist of resident engagement and collaboration totally. Why does council not try to approach rather than have a lack of transparency sometimes? And even when answering concerned residents' questions, they come back and give us misinformation. I personally got back and forth emails, and the corrections were made because maybe the questions not asked questions not answered properly. Sorry, but my brain's starting to go. Or like you're not communicating it in a way that sounds like through an email. The tone is not always there, right? So you use smart growth development, and that focuses on creating housing with developed water supply. So why is Forest Landing being used to meet the criteria for monies given to the council for the 63 houses that have been committed? Correct me if I'm wrong. Where exactly are those houses going to be? I know 36 are across the street from me, but I don't know where the other ones are. And this is, the idea is that it would allow changes in discretionary use clause that would not improve social interaction or the feeling of a safe, well-developed community. The RLLs are purchased because people like the privacy, actually. They don't really want to interact, not over my way anyway. Also, the lack of sidewalks for children and for people to be able to safely walk back and forth. Like kids can't go from house to house, like the streets are so narrow, and now we're going to put a lot more people in there. Council's premise that developing a wider choice of housing strengthens neighborhoods, both socially and economically. That's my time, is it? I purchased a Virginia Park years ago. And when they put the townhouses in, the whole complexion changed. Is that my time up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Can I do a little bit of conclusion then?
Sure,
No?
go ahead.
Okay. So in conclusion, the changes proposed by council will allow to have sweeping powers to make changes without residents' input. These are powers that the residents can't really know if they can trust you to uphold, because some things have been done without consulting with them. So I think if you're going to do changes and apply it to things like Northbrook, like I said, I'm happy that I've been over 13 years, and in 13 years there's been 60 houses built in our area. Another 36 is welcome. But like if you're going to have it, like the traffic all comes out into, both exits come out into Captain Matthew Davis Drive, the traffic is going to be really increased. There was an opening when we moved here, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Scott, when I moved in there was a roadway across from Rattling Brook off Forest River Road, and an original plan that was supposed to be for improvements or new development farther down the road. I'm not sure why that disappeared, because I'm really concerned about the amount of traffic and the safety that's going to happen over there. But anyway, thank you for your time. I had lots more to say, but I
All right,
will.
so a couple of things, I can address a couple of things that you were saying there. So, number one, council and the town, we never make any amendments to any regulations without public input. We always go out to the public for that, because we have rules and regulations and Urban Rural Planning Act and laws that we have to follow. So we are upfront and transparent about everything that we do.
Can I
People-
ask you, is there a certain way that?
It's outlined,
Is it just on the website, or do you
It's
have
out-
to?
if you can let me finish.
the mayor speak.
It's outlined in the Urban Rural Planning Act and in our development regulations, how that communication is supposed to take place. So we advertise on our website, we put it in the Northeast Avalon Times. When we used to have the telegram on a regular basis, it always went in the telegram. But we can't control where that stuff goes. Anybody that signs up for alerts from the town of Torbay, get alerts through email on any kind of amendments or applications or anything that's going out. The fact that we allow people to come in here to speak at our council meeting, and provide information and give us feedback. I don't know of too many other councils that allow residents to come in and speak at a council meeting the way that we do, or provide as much information as we do. Our planning package tonight is about 100 pages of information. Every piece of information that residents send us, it's distributed to council. We look at it. We have no choice but to be as transparent as we can with all the information that we have, because we are bound by those acts, the Urban and Rural Planning Act. If we pass something that council is not allowed to do, it'll automatically get turned over at the appeal board. So we can't just do what we want. We have to follow the rules, and we follow the rules as closely and as best we can. If somebody points out to us that, hang on now, what is this? We will take that information and we will look at it, and if we did something wrong, we will fix it. And, we have professional staff here that understand exactly what it is that they're doing. And, discretionary use is actually, it is a good thing, because it allows, it forces council to go out to the residents, to ask for their input, to inform us when we make decisions. That's the whole point. That's the point of going out to the residents to get. Now, are we always gonna make a decision that the residents agree with? Maybe not. We're gonna take all the information and we'll discuss it as a council and we'll come up to a decision based on our rules and regulations and all those things. And then council will come out here and we'll take a vote on it. And, you know, it's, that's the, I don't know if there's any more of an open way to do things than that. I know before I got on council, and Robbie is there, she knows, we used to come sit in the council meetings every week, and we get the council package mailed out to us. There was only a half dozen people on that, and we never got the council package until after the council meeting was over, where we finally got a chance to actually look at what the information was that council was making their decisions on. Now, on Friday, we put all their information on the town's website. Everything that council has, every piece of paper, every email, everything that comes in an application, it's put up there for the residents to see. And they can inform themselves and ask questions. And, you know, if there's something that we're not doing that we can be doing, then I'm happy to take suggestions. But it's very difficult to combat information that's placed on social media, on Facebook in particular, and we just can't, because people can go on there and say whatever they want. But we're held to a standard where we have to follow rules and laws and regulations, and that's basically where it is. I understand your objection or your concerns to do with your concerns, fair enough, and when people have objections, we understand that too. And we take all that into account, and we look at it all, and we make a decision. And, you know, the people that sit around here and our staff and everybody, we try and make decisions that we feel is in the best interest of the long term of the town, and not necessarily what is in the best interest of me or someone sitting here in the moment. It's, you know, we have to look at the long term of everything, and I really appreciate you coming here and raising those things, and
Thank you very much, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that you, as a council, allow people to come in, because you
Yeah.
are elected by the residents of this town, and I think
Yes.
that shows a respect for the residents and their voice, so thank you very much for that.
and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, where's my list? Who's on my list?
Mr. Malloy
Mr. Malloy is
is next.
next.
Question and answer.
Yeah,
I'll be very quick.
all right, okay.
Being the true gentleman he is, he let me go first. Just want to say that when we came here originally to be totally against the proposal that council had sent out, when I got the piece of mail from council saying this is the new proposal, I felt it was an absolute insult to us as a group, because it was something like, well, just, you know, we'll just scale down our little operation and that'll keep them happy, and we'll just get our foot in the door. And from my perspective, that would probably open up the whole area down the road. Maybe I was totally wrong on that for whoever put forward that proposal, but I personally, and as I was talking to other people, felt it was an insult. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Malloy.
Fair enough. Well, I can assure you there was no insult intended.
No, that was my first reaction.
Fair enough. Okay.
Thank you, Colleen.
Mr. Malloy?
Thank you. This again is on a bit of commentary on 1669 Torbay Road and the development. You've received lots of correspondence on it, I'm sure, lots of feedback. I just want to make a few comments. I understand there may be a vote on it tonight. I found out about this late Friday night. So Dairy residents still have some concerns around this proposal development. Changing it 28, 2 to 3 units, 1 to 2 stories, are still not addressing our concerns that have been sent out in 12 individual emails, email correspondence, almost 100 petition signature from the water and sewer, from water issues, nutrient distribution, runoff issues, safety issues, road not meeting code, maintaining the rural character of our community. I just want to touch on a couple of items on correspondence from the town to the Development Committee, from consultants, Newfoundland Power, and I guess the fire chief or who that member may be, from professional engineer. This one's from Professional Engineering Consulting, that's PEC. I'll just quote a few things that I picked out of it. Secondary access must be provided. The road and turnaround are not meeting the guidelines and standards. These are critically important to address life safety concerns, and not meeting these could have catastrophic consequences. Again, from PEC, another problem. Stormwater management measures will be necessary for development with this for this project. Limited available space for stormwater infrastructure. This may present a challenge in meeting zero net runoff standards, which I think is a policy for the town of Torbay. From the fire chief, secondary egress to Burns Lane and Tanton View Lane is vital. On that note, again, in an opening statement on this package to the Development Committee, in motion items for direction, the first sentence, this land located on 1669 Torbay Road, consolidated with 15B Torbay Road, is a false statement. 15B Torbay Road is not held by this proponent, and it's definitely not going to be a part of this concept. From Newfoundland Power, this development may be very difficult, if not impossible, to service overhead, and may need full underground service that may not be feasible for this development. I can go on because you've received all our correspondence. Some are very lengthy, they detail many other concerns. We're not opposed to development. We support development, but this is just, I think we look at this as just a crazy development, and we look at, we talk about the rural character of Torbay, and you look at whatever they want to put over there, whether it's the crazy Hillview Terrace apartments originally, or these 1 to 2 story units still. You're looking at 28 units on a small piece of land. Certainly can't be serviced with the water problems that we have over there, and again with the runoff problems. I support development and probably on lower density, and I think that's probably what the majority of this town will support. Again, thank you very much for your time. I don't know if anybody else has any commentary to provide on this.
Thank you. No, that's it for this session now, sorry.
There's no additional time?
No.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
No, that's all good.
Now, there might be some time available at the end.
At the end, yeah.
Right, we'll see. We'll see. All right, where am I to? Mayor's report. I'm just, quickly going to, I'm not going to report much. I'm just going to go through our birthdays for the month of May. May is next month, right? All right. Paul Maloney, May 3rd, Infrastructure, Public Works. Doug Powell, Planning and Development, May 5th. Ward, oh, my God. Ward, wherever you are, buddy, happy birthday. Tessa Thorne, May 21st, Recreation and Community Services. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful and happy birthday. And if you can, have one on me. All right, moving on. Business Arising report. Anything?
Unless you got something to report on.
Nothing. We're waiting to hear back from Minister Hutton on a meeting. We sent a request to him, and that's kind of where we're to now.
Any response at all, any indication when it might be?
We did actually get a response back that they were going to get back to us this week. Kim?
It's, Mr. Hutton won't be in attendance. It will be his Director of Infrastructure and Public Works for now, for the first initial meeting. And we do anticipate it early next week. And then Minister Hutton will be briefed and come into the meeting. That's the word we got from his office.
Why, I would love to know that sequence. I don't know why Minister Hutton couldn't meet with us up front rather than go through 3 meetings before we get to him. So if someone could put that on record,
Absolutely.
no problem at all.
Can.
Yeah, I've been talking to MHA Wall about this too, and asking him to follow up on our behalf, and he's going to do that.
I'm sure it's the way they do things so that he can have answers and things of that nature, but
It is.
we're
Maybe we'll
Yeah.
get an opportunity to speak to Minister Haggy at Municipalities Newfoundland Labrador this weekend. Usually the Minister of Municipal Affairs is there. All right. Correspondence, they're kind of related to the proclamations we did. One from Municipal Awareness Week. The Municipal Symposium agenda is attached here. And we have a correspondence from Municipal Assessment Agency. We could forward, that's there for our information. Corporate Services. Can take a look at that, excuse me. All right. No motions?
There is one motion.
Where?
For corporate services.
Oh, I'm in planning now.
Oh, sorry.
Committees of Council. There is no committee of the whole reports. Planning, Land Use Development, Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bear with me now, we see this comes in here. First item up on the agenda, and I guess the reason why everybody's here as well, is 1669 Torbay Road. I'd like to put forward a motion that we defer this for further consultation with the committee of the whole as a group, mainly because of some conversations we had amongst ourselves today and as well some feedback from residents, I guess, in terms of whether they knew exactly what was going on or not and how we go down that road again. I'd like for everybody to be on the same page as well, so if I can just put a motion forward to defer. I'd also like to, just while all hands are here, and just address some of the concerns that may be in terms of what was actually, would have been in the condition approval, whatever comes at that point in time.
Okay,
So, motion to defer first?
okay,
Second.
motion to defer, seconded. Great.
We have to take call for it, all in favor?
No, while the motion is tabled,
Okay.
now you can do your background on why.
There we go, yeah. Okay, I want to say thanks to the residents for showing up actually and expressing their concerns by email. And there was quite a substantial amount of information that was gone through, and as you know, the first proposal was for 81 units. And I think that was immediately seen as being really extravagant, and then the proponent put it down to 28 units, whatever it was. There are a lot of questions that are put forward that really aren't in our control, and I'll go by saying that the water and septic systems are controlled by the province in terms of what needs to be done, what can be done, what the aquifers may look like, you know, what types of septic systems will be designed for such and such a building. And this is at the very initial phase. I mean, this might not even be feasible for the person to do at the end of the day. There are no finalized engineering drawings that show where the proposed buildings would be or what the proposed outfalls are. But the approval would, if it was given, would have conditions applied to it. And some of these conditions would have been a non-domestic well permit, approvals from Water Resources Division, which entails the initial completion of aquifer testing in accordance with the requirements of a non-domestic well permits to determine yield and therefore total number of dwelling units and associated firefighting infrastructure that can be sustained by the aquifer. Where possible, wells shall be located at the furthest distance from neighboring wells, and aquifer testing would be undertaken via permitting through the Water Resources Division and the town of Torbay. So Water Resources would essentially control what, when, and where, and how the aquifer testing will be done. The developer would have had to ask all homeowners or advise homeowners when the actual well testing was going on so that they would actually know when to expect a drawdown on the well so that the wells could be monitored to see what potential impact that would be. So there'd be no construction, no anything done before there would have to be a well test of some kind to see what the aquifers in the area would be like. The developer obviously had to carry liability insurance with sufficient coverage to be able to address any potential future negative effects their new drill wells may have on existing wells immediately adjacent to the subject property. Based on the results of an aquifer testing and number of units and firefighting infrastructure that can be sustained by the wells, preparation of a full set of detailed engineering drawings, storm water calculations, and associated storm detention systems achieving zero net runoff. And Wayne mentioned that earlier when he had talked about the consultant coming back and saying they need zero net runoff. Yes, that is a requirement for all development in town now, to have zero net runoff anyway. So those calculations are not done yet. We don't know what that looks like. We don't even know if it's possible. That would rest on the developer to do during their whole feasibility analysis. Transportation infrastructure would require a number of conditions. The preparation of a traffic study and the proposal shall comply with the recommendations of the traffic study and the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure's permitting requirements. So they also have to do a traffic study to find out what the impact will be on that entrance to and from that proposed development. As well as the other standard ones too, approval by the town's consulting engineers. So once the detailed set of engineering drawings will be produced, they have to come back to the town's engineers for final approval overall, say whether or not they agree or not agree with the town's plan. So it's not a matter of saying, yes, go ahead and do it without any conditions around things. The development will meet the town's engineering, subdivision engineering guidelines for private developments. There'd be submission of a landscaping plan, including tree and shrub plantings, and a lighting plan. Detailed building and floor plans, obviously. Septic approval from Service NL. As I said, we don't have the expertise from a septic system. That would rest with Service NL, and they would be the ones who would decide what would be required and in what type would be required. Service NL approval for fire, life safety, accessibility. They have the mandate for that. Our fire department can certainly recommend. The final guidelines would actually rest with Service NL overall. Torrey Volunteer Fire Department inspections and approval of fire, life safety conditions. Newfoundland Power and Canada Post approval. And Wayne also mentioned earlier that the Newfoundland Power did indicate there were some issues, but I think in a next email somewhere along the way too, they also said that they could handle certain things. Maybe it has to be underground infrastructure, something along those lines. So it's still like really at the initial stages if it had to go through. Review and concurrence of the proposed condominium agreements by the town of Torbay, signing a development agreement, and then standard conditions pertaining to construction in the town of Torbay. So I guess my only point is that whether or not council agrees now, I imagine we'll be deferring this, take it back anyway, is that it wouldn't just be carte blanche, here you go, do what you want to do. There are a lot of terms and conditions, and I seriously doubt that the proponent has actually done all the costing yet at this point in time. To take it from where that person was to, and I'm only speaking from my own little mind, from 81 to 28 units would be a severe dollar impairment for that proposed return on investment for that development. So I don't know how that feasibility will work into it, I have no idea. But like I said, it's at the very, very initial stages of that, so that is where we are. So I just figured I'd provide that information, and Councilman vote now whether we take it back and discuss it some further and go from there.
Any other comment on a motion to defer?
I just want to bring it up that I understand, I guess, from being involved with the planning and development, but when an application, and we can say it was originally 81 and reduce it down, but if the proponent wanted to have it at 81, he could have originally came in for 100 and something and say that he would have made a considerable decrease in it to put it down to, you know, reduce it down to 80 versus 28. And I think looking at it, while all of these conditions need to be met, I'm thinking that I'm delighted tonight that there's a motion to defer it, because I still think that 28 in an area like that, and the residents, which they've made it known in here when they were here for the original application, still have a right to know how many that it's being considered, because we would be approving 28 to go forward. And I think that for me as a councillor, I'd like to have further discussion around this before we make the recommendation, and I'm all for having it deferred. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment on the deferral?
I would support a deferral as well. You know, I listened intently as Councillor Pollard shared factual information of what will be required if this were to be approved. However, I've also sat around this table for 8 years. And in 8 years that I've been here, there have been examples where approval and principles have been brought to this table, where people didn't meet the criteria of the approval and principle, whereby it was actually said in this chamber, but there's a legal obligation now because the approval and principle has been approved, and we have to give this person the opportunity to meet that requirement. So it's only if that person then cannot meet that requirement that we would turn around and say, okay, well, this is not moving forward. So it's my understanding, sitting here after 8 years of many developments, understanding that that approval in principle means that the council is saying, we're going to entertain this, and if you can't meet that criteria, then we may have a different discussion, but if we give you approval in principle, that's a green light. So I think that's important as well, to share that the public is aware of that part of the conversation. I know that in other developments, there have been conversations about changing numbers when residents have pushed back and said, no, well, we'll start with this, but there's potential to grow to this. So I think there needs to be very clear, very much good clarity around that, because council can change its decision through the decision of discretion at any point, so long as there's 4 votes. So the public needs to be aware of that ability as well. And there are some questions that I have about this development myself. When I was asking about this in early days, somewhere I was informed that there were concerns about the road going in and out, if there was enough room even for the road to go in there in certain spaces. And if it was, what does that look like? And I'd like to have some answers on that myself, because we've heard tonight, you know, residents talking about roads that we currently have that are not wide enough for 2 cars to pass at the same time. And then we're talking about fire and emergency services, safety exits, you know, increases in traffic. So there's a lot of really critical concerns that are being raised here by residents. And I think it's really important that residents not only understand what happens with an with an approval in principle, but also if it's approved, that this means that. Because there's another example of a development since I've been here.
Can we stick to this motion?
But no, but there's the last point. There's just one more example of where a development was supposed to move forward. There was an approval in principle, and then there was a whole conversation with stormwater management that didn't work the way it was supposed to, and a resident actually had to pay out of pocket to deal with that because this developer didn't follow what was supposed to be done. So I think we need to be really, really careful. I'm all about development. I've received emails and I've heard false comments in the community about me being against development. That is not true. I'll check that for anybody. I am for responsible development. We have a municipal plan that is being undertaken right now. We're having conversations about zoning. I'll zip it now. But I want to be very clear that responsible development is what we need to do. So supporting, deferring this motion, following, having clear conversation, making sure that everybody, us and residents working together, understand what growth looks like. And I think having the opportunity that we're doing tonight about inviting residents in, having a conversation, welcoming that input. Again, the social, piece of it that was raised as well. We need to talk about the impacts of having, different types of housing in the community. So very responsible to defer this tonight, have further conversations, maybe even further engagements with the people in the neighborhood, and then see where to from here. So thank you, Mayor, appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Any other comment?
Question.
Go ahead. All right. All in favor of deferment?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Worship. Next motion to accept the 2025 permit listings for the week ending April 23rd, 25 is tabled. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Worship, all the other things that the Planning Development Committee is working on are attached as well. And we're all still waiting for the information from Amendment 17 to come back as well, so once that comes, we'll bring it forward.
All right, thank you. Next, admin, hang on now. Admin HR, Deputy Mayor.
All right, we had our meeting, seems a long time ago now, on the 22nd. Myself and Councillor Manning and Chief Human Resources, Mark Whalen, and Sandy Hounsel, CAO. It's basically an update. There's no new information in here. The recruitment and selection for the planning and development ambassador.
Do you want to just,
1 second.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to leave before we proceed?
Very good.
Give your chance to run.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, carry on.
Okay, so a final hiring decision was going to be made prior to Friday. I don't know, Mark, if we've got anything or if that'll come back to our next HR meeting, I'm assuming. So most of what's in here will come back to our next HR meeting. It's just for information purposes right now. The dates that are in here, they've either closed or in the process, different positions of being closed.
Okay.
I will say that the seasonal heavy equipment operator for the 2025 summer position, The successful candidate is Jordan Cross, and he was with us, I think, last year as well. So congratulations again to Jordan, and the rest of this is information purposes. If
Okay.
anybody's got any questions on any that's there, feel free to ask, or myself or Mark. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Corporate Services, Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. We didn't meet, so it's going to be shortened week this time around. There are just some invoices there for approval. And it's on your desk, probably in the package as well. The first invoice is from Brentag Canada for a treatment plant chlorine and soda ash in the amount of $6,450.36. Calibro Insurance Limited, as you know, the policy updates are ongoing now at the present time, the amount of $6,237.60. Harvey's Oil Limited for diesel for the tank at the depot in the amount of $5,600.44. Receiver General in Canada payroll remittance in the amount of $43,523.51. And WSP for North Pond treatment ongoing for $29,751.94, all totaling $91,563.85. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
We'll have more next meeting.
All right, that it?
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Economic Development, Tourism. Councillor Tapper, buddy?
Thank you. Just a few items quickly. One, under the History House report, I believe there's something coming forward from our Recreation Committee dealing with the mold issue at the History House. The Best of Torbay Awards, as we mentioned when they had last night, was a great success. Multicultural program, we'll be planning a multicultural art festival in partnership with the History House and other cultural organizations in the regions. Marketing and communications, the summer guide is in preparation, and our website is under development, which is great. Under the History House, the Mannion project, work is ongoing to do some work on that website as well. There is one motion coming forward from the actually initiated by the Museum Advisory Committee. The committee is putting forward a motion to appoint Noah Morit to the Museum Advisory Committee. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Right here. I asked in the last meeting, I don't see it in the package, for an update on when the last call for members was put through. When I was responsible for creating the History House as the director, or as the chairperson of the Economic Development Committee, we created a criteria. You were only supposed to serve a certain period of time. It was supposed to turn around. Councillor Tapper said in the last public meeting that they couldn't get anyone who's interested. And I asked, have we been following that policy? And I also asked the question of, when did we have a last call? It's actually in the minutes that we just adopted that I asked those questions. I don't see it in the package. So I'm curious to understand, do we have that information about when we would have had this call, when this happened, how that came to be?
I'm not sure.
I gotta ask, what did you quote me as saying about nobody available?
When we had.
How far did that go back?
We had, it was in the last meeting, we spoke about it, and you said there's no one interested to serve on the board. You said
Yes.
we have Mike,
I think to that point you asked, and Councillor Tapper said the last time we went out for a call for members, we didn't fill the whole board. We had some people that came forward. Was
no,
Mike- that's
no,
what
go
he said.
back and watch the video, it's very clear what was said. It was said that Mike Byrne, thank you. Mike Byrne had joined the board, that there weren't people who were interested. What I asked to be provided in this package around Noah being appointed was, when did we put a call out for members for this committee? And when have we followed the policy? When last did we follow the policy of putting out that call? And I don't know when that was. So I'm asking again tonight for the same information, because the concern I have is, if we're not giving fair and equal opportunity to people in this community to serve in this way, then are we cherry picking people to put in here? There's policies and procedures that we put in place in this community. They're expected to be followed. You just shared, that's how we do our business. So I'm asking again, are we following that policy? Has there been a call for people who are interested? What is that criteria that we're looking at that against, and then how are we doing that? Because my understanding from Councillor Tapper's comments in the last meeting, he said, we haven't had a turnover. We haven't had people who've been interested. But when was the last time we had a call so people would know that they could even serve there? So I think before we vote to accept NOAA here in this space, we need to make sure that there's fair and equal opportunity for people to serve in this community in a fair and equal way. And I don't think that I can support a motion tonight that comes forward without following the policy and procedure that we have put in place and adopted here at this council. When we brought forward the History House, we brought forward regulations about how it was going to operate. Those were changed the beginning of this term, but my understanding is that's still the operational way we're supposed to function. So my question is, can I get some clarity on it? Can we follow the right proper procedure that we have adopted? And then we can certainly have a conversation about who we're bringing in following that proper procedure. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So the motion's been second?
Motion is seconded.
Yes. So this is something, if we're going to speak to this, that we've talked about this came forward from the advisory committee, and I know that there was an opportunity for somebody else to come as prior discussion that we've had with the advisory committee that they made. So I'm in approval, I'm seconding the motion, and I'm approving the appointment of Noah.
Okay. Any other comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Point of records, can I ask for an investigation into our procedures and policies being followed in this matter, please?
We can ask that the, when was the last time we did a call for the advisory board for the History House? And we can look that information up.
My understanding, point of record, is I'm allowed to ask what I'd like to have investigated. And what I'm asking is if we're following procedures.
Point of what?
I'm asking to have put it on the record
Okay, all
that
right.
I'm asking
Yeah.
that we do a review of, are we following the council procedures around the History House? I'm really curious here to understand, how can an advisory committee bring forward a motion to council? My understanding is that motions of councils come through committee. Is committee bringing this motion forward?
The motion came from the
Through
committee. The advisory
Advisory
committee
committee.
recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get some clarification
Okay.
about how this is happening and that we're following our proper rules and procedures, please.
All right, Mark, can you follow up on that, please?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
I have to ask, is Noah Moores a member of the committee?
Yes?
Okay, good. Thank you.
Well, the motion passed.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification.
Okay.
Just in reference to the whole policy, and that we take into account then when we change from the History House standalone to a Department of the town itself, and how that impacts what those policies may be as well, because they mightn't even be valid at this point in time, so
Yeah, okay. Yeah, please,
needs,
Mark.
needs a review on that overall for sure.
I think we had mentioned that, looking into that, and I think Kerry has got that on his list to do, follow up.
Okay. All right, anything else?
That's it.
One more thing. There's a note here about the Bradbury Memorial. I'll note there's still not a motion of council about looking into that and asking staff to take action in that space. I asked about that in the last council meeting as well. If we are going to have a conversation around the Bradbury Memorial, there needs to be a motion of council to direct staff in that direction. And to my knowledge, there has not been one. So I'll ask that committee take that back, have that conversation, and if this is something that we're going to move forward with all the appropriate information, we bring it forward and have an official motion of council so that staff is following the direction of council under the direction that's decided and recorded. And also, Councillor Tapper asked the question in the last meeting about reporting about mold. And I noted that there's a question here about mold in the economic development submission, but I think it was clarified, and to Councillor Tapper's point, That mold is something that is being handled in Recreation and Community Services because we deal with facilities, and that information will be provided in that part of the package. So just wanted to follow up on those items as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, infrastructure and public works.
We
No
didn't have a
reports, no
meeting,
motions.
and Brian is away, so there is no report, and there are no motions at this point. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Recreation and Community Services, Counselor Manning.
Okay, the minutes are there. We had our meeting on Thursday, April 24th. I'll go through it there. Any questions? Certainly, you can stop and ask me or wait till the end of the report. So with the program events, the summer camps, we've had one of our coordinators has resigned, moved on to another position, so we're down a coordinator over there. And because of the, the hiring process and the advertising and hiring process, we're not going to offer the sports camp this year. Last year it was offered, but, and it was, if I'm not mistaken, for 20 kids. But without another coordinator, it's going to be hard to have the right detail to it and get it operating. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, the regular camp is going ahead for 8 weeks with 60 kids a week. That'll soon be opening up for registration. I'll move on to the Best of Torbay Awards. That's been spoken about here earlier. That was last night, and it was a very good event. It was coordinated with 2 departments, with the environment and with the rec committee over there. Both worked hand in hand and did a fabulous job. So to both departments and staff, I want to thank you very much for that. And having it all together was a better process, I think, than individual events, definitely. With the facilities, the History House, yeah. So the committee reviewed and we discussed the study that was done on the mold in the History House. And we were going to bring that report to a committee of the whole for a further discussion with all of council and decide on a direction that'll best work to rectify what's going on up there. And it'll give the rest of councillors more information as to what we're dealing with there. The outdoor fields, there's not much preparation work done yet, simply because of the weather. Certainly got cleaned up today with the rain, that's for sure. We'll get an update now to the committee as the weather starts to clear up and they get in and start doing what they need to do to get everything going. There is an issue still with the junior softball field, certainly with the drainage, but they're looking at that to see what the best solution once again is for that. And concerning the Upper Three Island or Three Corner Pond multi-purpose building and the issue with the septic tank and stuff like that. So the public works staff are going to look at that and see if that's something they can look at themselves or if we'll need to go further with that. So that also is a work in progress. On to other things, funding. Department has been awarded $29,120 in funding under the Canada Summer Jobs, and the director is going to be applying to Active Newfoundland for more funding and the age-friendly funding. That's all in the process. Safe Action Committee plan director needs to set up a follow-up meeting with the high school and follow up on next steps on that. And Torbay Minor Softball, that group has come asking for a request, and it has to do with certainly the field time and cost and stuff like that. The director has reached out and has a meeting set up with the Torbay Minor Softball Association, so they're going to get together. And well, it'll have to be this week because of timing. And when I get more information on that, I'll bring it back to all of council to have another look and discussion about it, see where we go with that. So so ends the minutes there. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer. If not, I can certainly direct the to the director.
I would just like to know that I was surprised that they're looking at having an engineer again to look into the drainage on that junior field, because that was one of the, I guess, the requests that came in because of the problems with that field over the past number of years and what's gone on, and to see that it's still, because we've put a fair amount of money back into that to get that corrected, and it's still issues with it.
Yep.
And I also thought, just for the record, that the issue with the septic and that up at the upper three corner, that was fixed last year, that and the popsicle hut had been corrected, and to see that that's still being looked into. I guess it's interesting to see that they still haven't been, and now we're so close to starting in there again. So I'm assuming if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen ASAP.
Yeah, and that's, they were waiting for some weather to clear up, and this stuff with the multi-purpose building and that, they're gonna be in, if they
So
haven't
it's backing
already
up
today.
again.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
Mayor, just a comment to add, of the conversation around the summer camps. When we originally set up the Torbay Common, we had 3 coordinators that functioned in that department. We had passed a motion here, and we had actually hired 3 coordinators at the time. COVID happened, and then we went back to 2 coordinators. Right now, we have 1 coordinator that's just left and 1 coordinator in place. The timing right now is the beginning of the summer season. Our service delivery is being impacted in the ability of not being able to offer a sports camp. We actually had to have a conversation at committee about, do we hire the full complement of students that we have, even though the director was successful in, I think it was $29,000 that she was able to secure for out of the funding there to offset some costs for the community. I would ask maybe that the HR committee go back and have a look at what's happening in the recreation department, because right now we're in a situation whereby with leave and scheduling and what's going on, we don't have capacity to offer the services that we need to in this department. And it's very clear here in black and white when we're taking our sports camp and saying, sorry, we can't do it. So I think it's a really important conversation to revisit. Do we have enough capacity within that department? Do we need to go back and look at it? We did, back in the first term of council that I served, I know that we did have 3 coordinators, and then we went down to 2. We functioned in that way for a while. But right now, with increased use and demand of the fields and the facility over there, we're no longer in a COVID state. I think we need to have a conversation, making sure we've got the right staff complement for the work that we're asking staff to do. And we talk about, tonight we talked about proclamations around mental health, safe work environments, and making sure that we've got good places for people to be. So I think it's really important that we revisit this conversation, knowing that there are impacts to service delivery. So if I can ask for that to be considered, I'd appreciate that.
We'll let the director and HR and CEO look after that.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking
And-
for, is to redirect it, but I think it's an important conversation, and I ask that it be looked after.
And that was the point, yeah, that was a good point, but to bring it back to the CAO and director, and our director of rec, to come in with a request. Since I've been here the last 4 years, there's always been, I've only known 2 coordinators down there, and absolutely every organization can use more employees, there's no doubt about that. Sadly, we had 1 missing, and this is a prime time with the summer program starting up, and it is a very busy time for the staff over there to organise and have the responsibility on just 1 person. So, and with the HR committee, you know, we're going through the process as quick as we can to get the other coordinator in, but that person is going to be coming in just a week or so before these programs operate. So the camp one was not a good option at this point in time because of staffing, and absolutely look at an extra coordinator, no doubt about it. And that'll be something that we can get the director of rec to do up a request and put it into HR, and then come to HR committee and go through the process. Okay, thank you.
All right,
Could I
thank you.
just-
Go ahead, Councilor
Isn't
Cameron.
it a bit late this time of year? It's only a few days away from starting the rec program. Is it also a budget item? Is there any money in the budget for that position?
Well,
I'm not
yeah,
asking
there would be
this-
because we lost one, right? So we'd have to replace.
Yeah, but that was a few years ago.
No, I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now.
As long as, yeah.
I'm not asking for an immediate change, I'm just asking that committee look at this whole situation because of,
Can
The
we leave
impact
this for
service.
HR to discuss?
Yeah.
yes, absolutely, I just want to clarify what I asked, that's all.
Alright.
My last comment was, congratulations to the Department of Recreation and Community Services and the Department of Economic Development in how well they worked together to put off the Best of Torbay Awards. It was absolutely brilliant, hats off to the team, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Liaison committees, Atlantic Mayor's Congress. No update. Intergovernmental Affairs, I don't have any update. Jack Byrne. No update. All right. Northeast Avalon Joint Council.
No, our next meeting is next
Okay.
week.
RNC, got no update. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department.
I don't have an update there right now.
Okay.
I just want to put out there, they had their 51st Fireman's Ball and everything went well there for sure.
Yeah.
I'll have more to report now next.
Okay.
Thank you.
To that point, I would congratulate Ron Francis on, he's Officer of the Year, and Brandon Callahan was Firefighter of the Year, so
Yeah.
congratulations to both of them from the other night.
Absolutely.
All right, Urban Municipalities Committee, no report. Notice of motion, none. New business. Councilor Eppley.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank the volunteers, but I did that earlier. I also wanted to thank the fire department for their service. I managed to do that as well. And I wanted to thank the residents for engaging with us. So I got all that done early at the gate, so those are taken care of. I wanted to congratulate the winners in the Torbay Best, the Best of Torbay event last night. I think it's really amazing to see people who give so much to their community being recognized for what they do. So hats off on the work on that. And I also wanted to say congratulations to the staff for all the work they did to pull that off. That was amazing. And I also wanted to issue a congratulations, if I could, to Kathy Dunderdale. I recognized it on Facebook this week, but Kathy was awarded by Premier Fury a King Charles Award. And I grew up in the town of Bjorn. She was deputy mayor and my father was mayor for the 30 years he served. Along those years, between being a councillor and a deputy mayor and all the things that they did, I had the good fortune of watching her fighting back in the days at a Cobb moratorium for the fish plants and all of her career through. She's always been a kind community person and also a close family friend for me. So very happy to see her, the woman who was the first premier of our province, being recognized the way she has. Also very happy to see her recognized through the works that happened with the 100 women through 100 years of, the right to vote. So just want to put a congratulations out to her. She's enjoying her retirement these days, but she's paved the way for an awful lot of women who want to come through and shown how to lead with dignity and integrity. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
I just want to say a big thank you to the staff, all the staff and departments that were involved in making last night the Best of Torbay Award ceremony such a great success. Everybody was raving that received the actual awards, Kerry. The frame picture and the way that it was done was a great touch, and I got to say that the people that got them were really impressed, so hats off to everyone. And thanks again to the volunteers in the community. I have to put that in there, and that's it for me.
All right, thank you. So I guess it's down to me. All right, I just want to say my regular thank you to council and staff for the hard work that you put in over the last couple of weeks. I know it's never easy, but it's nice when we can have an easy week. And I want to say thank you to the residents who showed up here tonight and who always come to our meetings and provide us with information, whether you come to the meetings or send it in. It's valuable and we appreciate that. And I want to say congratulations to all the award winners from last night. In particular, for Madonna Galway, with her 28 years of service to the food bank, and her being awarded with Lifetime Achievement Award was nice to see. And, you know, I worked a lot with the food bank over the last number of years, and I appreciate everything that they do. And, you know, it's not an easy job when you're trying. She was talking about the other night how when they first started off, opening up a loaf of bread and giving out 2 pieces in a baggie because they never had anything else. And you know, it's some of us were so fortunate that, you know, but a stroke of luck or whatever, you could be in that same situation. So, you know, you take your lucky stars sometimes. And thank you also to all of our businesses who were represented last night, and to our staff. They did an awesome job, and I'm looking forward to the next thing. I know we've been talking about that format of an event for a number of years. Me and Jody were talking about it last night when we went to Mount Pearl, and we had a table in there for the Best of Mount Pearl thing that they did. And that was probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I've been hoping that we were gonna do something, and it looks like now we're so, see, stuff don't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes a while, and a lot of planning, and a lot of extra things to be able to get stuff moving in the direction that you want. And, you know, I'm very appreciative of all those people and the hard work that they put in. So, let's all go home now and check out the election. And I got,
Questions, Q&A.
yeah, I was sitting to that. Is there anybody that has a question about something that was discussed tonight?
Sandra then.
First here,
Yeah,
Sandra, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so, question, hi, and sorry, I was not at subsequent meetings since March. I have been away on travel for work, so my apologies.
Sorry.
Don't like to break my word. Question about process. And so, yes, notifications went out at Friday at 4. So there are 2 pieces around that. Is there a possibility of having notifications and materials? Because the materials were actually 194 pages. Is there at all a possibility of having that earlier in the week? Because at 4 p.m.?
We have, as part of our rules of procedure,
Yes?
it states when our council package is ready to be
Okay.
posted to the public.
Perfect.
So we try and follow that as best we can. And so that's.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Good to think. And
Well, However,
Yes.
our staff are always available if you have questions, and they will, for specific information,
Mm-hmm.
they can provide it to you outside of what's going up on the website for
Yep.
council package.
no, that's helpful because the process piece also has to do with, although things are made available, they are not necessarily accessible. And so, Councillor Pollard, I really want to thank you for the detailed work you did around the development questions. And I think those are critical pieces that need to be documented or put out in a way from a knowledge translation perspective that helps people to understand. So I really think those are important pieces. And so having a clear knowledge translation piece of information, infographics about how that actually works, and understanding that approval by, what was
No,
the-
approval in principle.
approval in principle, clearly stated how that works, I think would actually help community engagement and understanding, and you probably wouldn't get the same kind, you'd have more engagement and a different tone to the engagement.
Fair enough. So basically, how approval in principle works, if you
Yep.
give me an application to do something,
Yep.
and you wanna build a subdivision, 100 houses. And before you wanna lay out any large amount of money, you would present your initial engineering or your initial drawings, and staff would review it.
Yes,
And then they
so
would-
I understand,
Approval in
yeah.
principle with
Yeah,
conditions.
I understand the concept, but I think that having a communication tool to have that clearly articulated for residents, as well as, that it can, there are still 4 votes that can support it moving forward is a really important piece for residents to understand in a very clear manner. So I would highly encourage the use of good knowledge translation methodology to help make sure people really understand. I also really appreciated your position around the process you follow. And it's very good that we know the urban planning process act that you follow.
It is.
It's also very good that you highlighted our ability to appeal. And I think making available very clear instructions and again in a knowledge translation document that is easily to access for people, that appeal process would be very welcome, I think, for most of us. And Colleen, I just want to really highlight what you said because what you said was very accurate, although I had to go back to my cognitive psych textbooks and find out that it was actually the door in the face technique. And the door in the face technique is used by certain people like President Trump, actually. He uses that a lot. And what happens is you go in with an idea of, I think the initial discussion was 14, and then you do something really bombastic, like go to 81, and it gets everybody freaked out. And then you kind of scale it back to 28, but you're still kind of double the original proposal. So that's a very interesting cognitive strategy to still get your own way and make people feel a little bit better that you're going to do something that's not cool. So I'm going to wrap up.
To your point on that though, right?
Mhm.
It's the applicant that determines what the application
Oh,
is.
I'm just merely describing what the applicant has done. This is in no way a comment about council. I'm describing the technique of the applicant, and we should all be aware that that is a really kind of interesting technique used to get your way on something. So, anyway, thank you.
All right. Thank
I
you.
look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Robbie.
Robbie. Okay. Welcome.
First, I want to thank the town, the staff, for a really lovely evening last night. It was really nice. And the food was good too. I think everyone would agree. So, yeah, I think that's a lovely way of doing it. What I want to talk about here is the East Coast Trail Association Trail Raiser and the Torbay Coyotes. We are registered again. We've got 7 or 8 people already signed up. I understand from Councillor Thorne Goss that she's working on putting together a team, which is fabulous. That's what we want. And I hope she gets a full team, everybody.
We're trying.
And without lack of trying, let me tell you.
Well, she was beating the bushes last night. So, and I've also reached out to the 50 Plus Club because I think this would be something that would suit them as well to have another team. In past years, the town has very generously funded an ad in the Northeast Avalon Times for the Coyotes. But now this year, there's the Coyotes, there's several groups. So I'm not quite sure how you want to handle that aspect of advertising. All I want to do is point out, Catherine has a deadline, I think, of the 7th of May. So if we're going to put something into the Northeast Avalon Times, just be aware of that deadline.
Yeah, that is on our microscope to
Perfect.
ensure that it's done.
Okay.
I've discussed with the CAO, and we're going to move forward with that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and to your point, I was out to Rogers on Friday, and myself and Randy, we did episode of Out of the Fog, talked about the East Coast Trail fundraiser, and I even talked about the Coyotes, how great they are. So, if you have Rogers TV, which I don't, check it out. And if there's a way that you can share it, please.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent,
Thank you. Kevin?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of comments before I got a number of questions, but I'll dwindle it down to one. First of all, thank you for the proclamation of volunteering. I volunteered for a number of years, started actually in 1970, 71, 72, where I was asked to coach a provincial wheelchair team and take them to a Canadian championship. So I've been at it for a long time, and thank you for that proclamation tonight. The municipal government one, I want to thank the councillors. We had concerns when we moved to Torbay a number of times, but we always went through the process and worked with council and worked things out and got a lot of answers and a lot of things done to our satisfaction. The safety one is what I want to talk about Forest Landing. Citizens got a number of concerns before that goes forward, and I know it's in your hands in the end what you decide to do. But the major concern I got about the safety issue is that going into Captain Matthew Davis Drive, there are probably, I'm guessing, I didn't go around and count, but 60 or 70 houses in there right now. This new development will bring in another, I'm thinking somebody said 60, I may be wrong.
I think it's 37.
And there's 36 right now ready to be approved and built on. And that's going to bring into, in the end, and you're not going to be around council for X number of years because you'll be gone. If you change the rules and regulations, they will always be there. My concern is there's going to be, I'm guessing, over 100 houses in there, and if you amend the policy and you allow apartments, suites, or whatever you want to call it, maybe duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes. I don't know if that's going to be part of the, I don't know, in the future, if the amendment is going to cover that. So the secondary way in and out of these houses, there's only one way now, and that's Captain Matthew Davis Drive. When we moved into that subdivision 13, 14 years ago, I think on the plans, and I can't find it right now, but you might want to go back, the planning can go back and have a look at it. There was a secondary route in for future housing. Now, that never happened. So you're going to have 100 houses with apartments allowed, maybe, even if 20 or 30% of them have apartments. There's going to be a lot of people in that area. To get out, there's only one way out. We lived on a cul-de-sac. We lived on a crescent before we went to Torbay. There were only 12 houses on the cul-de-sac. One of the houses had a fire right at the neck of as you went in, caught a propane cylinder. Everybody was trapped in there. There was no way out. You had to climb a fence if you wanted to get out. If there's 100 houses and maybe 150 or 200 people in that area, and there's only one route out, you look at the news, California. You look at what happened in Alberta a few years ago. People driving through fires to get out of their community. So I'm asking the planning committee or whoever to go back and have a look at that map and find a secondary route out of that subdivision. I think it's there. I don't know why it was never ever developed. Maybe it wasn't there. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think it was there, and I think there was a second way in and out for future development. Don't know if that ever was looked at.
Are you talking about off Captain Matthew
Right
Davis
at,
itself?
no, I'm talking about coming down Rattling Brook.
Okay.
There's a stop sign, and straight ahead, there's a big bank right now with trees.
Okay.
I think in the beginning, where that stop sign was, there was an intersection to go in for housing development. Don't know why that was ever closed off. There's a big bank there now, which was hydro-seeded maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So maybe it's something you want to have a look at before you move on with developing that. And I'm not against, I am not against, it's a major issue in Canada, right across Canada, housing. So I'm not against housing. I just want the right kind of houses going in there for the current citizens who are in there and are after spending 40, 50, $400, $500, $600,000 in there now. And, the type of housing I think is important to us right now as citizens, and that safety route in and out as well. Sorry, I know the buzzer went off.
Sorry.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I remember when Forest Landing first got developed, when Western Island Brook Drive was put in. Probably the first 10, 15 houses were all 1,200 square foot bungalows that Stan Codner probably built back in, I think in the mid-90s, maybe 95, 96. And then all of that whole subdivision, right down to Skipper's Landing, as it all got built down, there was only one exit coming in and out of that. It was only Western Island Brook Drive until Rattling Brook, River, whatever that other one is, that where you turn left there, and then Riverside, or Riverside Drive went in, where it finally got a second exit. So there's a lot of rules around how long a street can be before it has to have, it can't dead end, I guess it's 460 meters or something like that. So your points are well taken. I know our staff
Sorry, could
knows
we get
our
his name?
regulations inside out.
Kevin?
Sharp.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
there's two ways in and out of the Forest Landing, but where this is all happening right now, there's only one way out, and
Right.
most people, a lot of people, any future plans are planned for that area.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I can
so-
tell you right now that amendment number 17, well, go ahead, Julia, does not include any kind of apartment complexes. Go ahead.
So just to answer your question about that land allowance, so that is there. It's off Forest River Road, and it leads kind of down towards that area where the new Northbrook development is proposed. Right now, there's 2 new developments proposed in that area, and they're working on their engineering details, and I would anticipate construction starting once construction season starts. One is that Northbrook development, that's for 38 lots, and then Marathon Holdings is doing the last phase of the Forest Landing subdivision, which is 22 lots. The Forest Landing subdivision, there's a requirement for an emergency exit. So there will be a secondary out along Old Bullocks Town Road. They have to upgrade that so to make it a drivable, not road standard, but standard enough so vehicles can go over it, fire emergency exits, people could get out of it. So that's a requirement right now. They have to do that as part of this development now. And the next phase for the Northbrook development, once that's in, there would be a requirement to either, there's a pretty significant bridge structure that would be required at that Forest River Road land allowance, so that does exist, or an alternate out on the far end onto kind of closer to the bypass road, out onto Indian Mill Line. So it's on the top of the agenda for us. We're aware of it. We are requiring that emergency exit right now that can be used during emergency situation. And then the next phase, something has to be built, either the new road out onto Indian Mill Line or that bridge, which is a very costly undertaking.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of that, and most of the people living around me are not aware of that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Okay.
Number 2, thank you for, I think I heard you say there will be no duplexes.
No, I said that proposal for 17 is only dealing with subsidiary apartments, which is basement apartments or in-law suite. That's it. It doesn't talk about duplexes or triplexes or apartment buildings or anything.
I don't want to prolong, but my question is, I can come back at another meeting.
Sure, come back next meeting.
Because with the amendments, would that ever be possible? That's my next question.
Not with that amendment, no. Right?
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Enjoy your evening.
Okay. All right, folks. Thank you very much for coming. And with that, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, before I do that, our next public council meeting is take place Monday, May 12th, 2025, 6:30 right here. And now I'll take my motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, opposed, carried. Thank you.
Good work.
All right, thanks. Well, she left it. Probably is not even. How often do you want to call? Just take pictures. Because I got peas.
And we gotta get all our teachers coming.
Yes. All right. What, well, I moved over here or?
Okay, Mark,
Thanks,
talk
Mark.
to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks. Hey, Mark.
What?
Okay, I'm taking two. You're very good. Good. Oh, yes, I gotta get one. That one's a little hard. Good.
All right, thank you.